Now, one of the reasons that we decided to be a state is that we wanted to manage our own fisheries, and we've done a pretty decent job of that. What were your thoughts when you were making the Constitution?
Outside control of fisheries was probably the biggest popular issue in behalf of statehood, because the fisheries were controlled 99.94% by outside interests, Seattle, San Francisco interests. And the critical issue was fish traps. Fish traps were wonderful devices for catching everything that came along, especially if you put it by the mouth of a river, and all the fish, regardless of species and sizes, get caught in there. And what was happening was that the fishermen in the communities were left out of it. Initially it was boat fishery, but then the traps were built. They were owned by outside interests. They would come up, bring their equipment, bring outside workers, and they would come and they'd catch the fish, they'd process the fish into cans, they'd ship the cans and the people and the equipment back out. And the people just said, now wait a minute.
That just doesn't seem right.
This is an Alaska resource. You are mining the resource. The fish runs were going down, down, down to a critical point. And part of the Constitution was prohibiting fish traps in Alaska, because this was a matter of survival of coastal communities. And so that was a major issue in statehood. And since we became a state, as you mentioned, the fisheries have come back up. Most of the runs are healthy, sustained, and we can do it ourselves. So it's, we don't need outsiders telling us what to do and controlling what happens here.
I think that's a message that resonates with all Alaskans. I don't think any of us like outsiders telling us what to do.
Yeah, whether they're federal government or outside industry. You know, what I take away from what Vic is talking about, and you know, I just feel privileged to hear how it went down as it happened. But it's so similar to where we find ourselves today with Alaska and this decision that's before us. Do we manage our own coastline, or do we let the federal government and outside interests manage it?
Well, and the thing about fisheries is that it's a good example where, in the long run, the cannery interest came out ahead, because the runs have been reinstated. There are more fish, many more times than there were at statehood, and whatever owners there are outside Alaska, they have benefited from our control of fisheries.
We've got a sustainable yield now.
Yeah, so, and the same thing would apply really to any industry, because the local people have an interest in jobs, they have an interest in development, they just want to make sure that things work right.
This ad was paid for by the Alaska Sea Party, whose top 3 contributors are the North Slope Borough, Bristol Bay Native Corporation, and the Alaska Conference of Mayors.